and then like say next thing that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And then next thing after that. So if you make one and I don't know.
Well, Joe Rogan, I think, read a book or made a joke or like did a special on, I think the Sacred Clown Tour was what it was. And part of that was like the Heyoka tribe used to have I forget what the name of it was, but it was like a person in the tribe that was like essentially a comedian. And they would just make fun of everything. Mm-hmm. And the reason they did that, the reason they had that was because if you made fun of something and people got offended by it, you knew that it was bullshit. Because everything should be able to be made fun of, because you should be able to make light of life, because that helps make life easier for people to deal with, you know? And so like there's people are always like, well, there's certain things that are off limits and certain things that aren't. Well, you know, comedy, like you said, is subjective, and it helps people kind of like make it through certain situations. So that's why I think comedy's so valuable. And I think comedy's making a comeback now, especially in Austin area. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of good comedians that have moved out there from LA because they wanted to get away from Hollywood. They wanted to get away from California and all that.
Here's a good example of comedy that a lot of people were offended by. Something I did. So my dear auntie, she was on a deathbed, and my uncle called me and said, "This is in 2018. Your auntie, your aunt, auntie, whatever you say in America, but you know, she's been admitted to hospital. She's not going to come out." So I jumped in the car, drove the 5.5 hours up north to see her, and I was really fortunate when I turned up in the hospital. Like she'd always had people around her bed, and for that moment there was no one there, so I could just have some real personal one-on-one chat with her. And she started crying when she saw me, and I had it was kind of emotional, and it was really sad to see her, but I was very fortunate to see her.
Were you close with your aunt?
I was very yes. It was one of those hindsights. I wish I'd spent more time in the years I was in the military, like being closer. Yeah. But yeah, I was close, and a remarkable woman. And then so she turns. I sit down and I'm like, "Oh, good to see you." And I went, "Okay, and in the book I call, I think Aunt Grace. In my book that you won't read, she's called Grace. It's not a real name, but I said, "Oh, Auntie Grace, how are you doing?" So I go, "I've got to ask you a question. When do you think you're going to die?" And so this was a Saturday afternoon. "When do you think you're going to die?" And she's like, "What?" I was, "Because I've got told you on your deathbed, and I've just rushed up here. And if you make it till Monday, I must gotta admit I'll be quite disappointed because I've just wasted my weekend coming up to see you." And I was
Jesus Christ! How did she respond to that?